With Red Bull's driver decision for 2025 made, Yuki Tsunoda will be sat in a Visa Cash App Racing Bulls car for the 5th season in a row, with just that season left on his contract. Red Bull's decision to promote the 11-race veteran Liam Lawson above Yuki, who has started 90 races during his time in F1, is a gamble, but Red Bull sound extremely confident in the decision they've made. However, some of Horner's recent driver decisions have proved desperately wrong. Could Tsunoda be about to prove another wrong? Today, I'll check out Christian Horner and Helmut Marko's brutal comments about Yuki Tsunoda and why they made the decision they did. So, don't go anywhere. Yuki Tsunoda put in his best performance over an entire season in 2024. While his total points haul was 30, which was 2 less than his debut season in 2021, that was the year that Pierre Gasly bagged 110 points driving for Red Bull's second team, so the relative competitiveness of the cars in the 2 seasons is incomparable. The stats from this season reveal just how good it was. Tsunoda started inside the top 10 positions at half of the 24 Grand Prix stage this year and scored points on 9 occasions, contributing to a personal best classification of 12th in the Drivers' Championship. Highlights included an eye-catching run to the 3rd fastest time in a rain-hit qualifying session at the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, along with P7 finishes in Australia, Miami, and Brazil. Perhaps the most impressive feature of Yuki's season was that the highlights were all his results, rather than his radio messages. His reputation for having a short fuse over the team radio is well earned, but in 2024, he seemed to have finally started to move on from the bad habit of exploding at his race engineer. In fact, it was his teammate Liam Lawson who will make highlight reels for his on-track antics. At the Mexico City Grand Prix, Lawson gave Sergio Perez the middle finger while passing him after the two had gotten feisty on track. Perez branded Lawson an idiot over team radio and later claimed the New Zealander didn't have the right attitude for F1. An ironic comment now that Liam has claimed Sergio's seat for next season. Back to Yuki for a minute though. Reflecting on his 4th campaign in F1 and giving it a rating out of 10, Tsunoda commented, "I would say 8. There were a couple of races where I could have done better. Compared to the last 4 years, it's been one of my best for sure. I'm scoring more than half of the points for the team and able to show good consistency and consistently outperforming my teammates. Hopefully they can build a bit more trust in me. I give a lot of feedback to the team to make a better car, and we had a lot of races we were able to turn around. In those areas especially, I stepped up quite well." Tsunoda's self-assessment has been backed up by VCARB team boss Laurent Mekies, who hailed the Japanese driver's outstanding efforts over the course of the campaign. "When I see Yuki again performing at that level, like he did in the last few races, it was altogether an outstanding season from his side. I think he's made a step this season that nobody could forecast, and it's something he should be proud of." Despite the praise being heaped on Tsunoda for an excellent 2024 season, it wasn't enough to earn him a Red Bull seat. The Red Bull organization has never been completely keen on Yuki. While they'd never say it publicly, many people suspect that the only reason he still has a seat on either team is because he's heavily backed by Honda, who is still making Red Bull's engines. That won't be the case in 2026 though, when the Red Bull powertrains and Ford partnership field their first ever engine. It probably isn't a coincidence either then that Yuki's contract runs out at the end of 2025, giving Red Bull a clean break from Honda at the end of the year. Still, Red Bull's decision to go for the very inexperienced Liam Lawson over Tsunoda for 2025 is a brave one. However, Helmut Marko has explained that while Lawson may be newer to Formula 1, the team still think he is stronger mentally than Tsunoda. "In terms of speed, Tsunoda is definitely the faster of the two at the moment," said Marko, referring to the comparison with Lawson. Adding, "But he doesn't have the necessary consistency and keeps making mistakes." The 81-year-old referred to the Mexico weekend, where Tsunoda crashed in qualifying and the Grand Prix. Then there are his outbursts of anger, which have improved considerably but are still a factor. Then he loses control, Marko continued. Tsunoda then slows down and loses his composure, the motorsports consultant said. Yuki losing his head like that has been a constant pain point throughout his career, and despite a much improved 2024 season, Red Bull still feels that part of his personality hasn't gone. "We believe that it would cause great emotional difficulties if Tsunoda realized alongside Max that he could not beat him, possibly not even come close, and that things were not going as he had imagined," explained Marko. The assumption from this statement then is that Liam will be able to handle the pressures of being alongside Verstappen. With just 11 race starts under his belt, Red Bull will be making that assumption about his mental strength from Lawson's time racing another series. but with the world watching F1, the pressure is greater than in any other racing series. Before I talk more about what Marko and Horner had to say about Yuki, if you're enjoying the video and want to catch some more F1 news, then make sure to give this video a like and subscribe to F1 Reverse. Thanks a lot. Tsunoda was not entirely surprised by the news that he would not get the cockpit, Marko admitted. He kind of expected it. Lawson is the mentally stronger of our juniors, stressed Marko. He may have relatively little Grand Prix experience, said the 81-year-old about the 11-time GP participant, but he has the mental strength to drive alongside Verstappen and accept that he will not stand a chance against the Dutchman. In addition, the New Zealander still has potential for further development and is down to earth. While Helmut may be full of praise for Liam at the moment, we'll have to see if halfway through the season those pleasantries continue, or if Lawson starts to crack under the pressure of being Max's teammate. Just because Marko is full of praise for Liam at the moment, that doesn't mean that he's going to have an easy ride at Red Bull. Marko's expectation for Lawson is that he'll not place more than 0.3 of a second behind Verstappen in qualifying, a very high bar to judge his performance by. Marko hasn't been the only Red Bull team member putting Yuki down since the decision to promote Lawson was announced though. Christian Horner spoke about Yuki's new teammate, Isaac Hajar, after the announcement of the young Frenchman's promotion to F1 was made. With both Hajar and Tsunoda having driven for Red Bull in Abu Dhabi, the team had a chance to compare the two drivers. Isaac, he's another talent. He jumped in the car, he was faster than Yuki in the test last week, which turned heads, Horner said. He's definitely a raw talent, he needs a little bit of polishing, but he has the speed. He was unfortunate in Formula 2 to miss out at the last race due to technical glitches with start-line software, from what I understand, but he's impressed as well. Particularly with his speed, it'll be interesting to see how things pan out. Calling Hajar a raw talent is definitely a fair comment. During his FP1 drive at the British Grand Prix, he was very animated over the radio, complaining about the Red Bull car and how undrivable it was. To be fair to him, the RB20 was pretty undrivable by all accounts, and for an inexperienced F2 driver, it must have been a tough experience stepping into that cockpit. For Yuki, the future doesn't look bright. The best thing he can do in 2025 is try to perform his absolute best and find a seat elsewhere. If he wants to prove to Red Bull that they made a mistake, then a performance similar to Pierre Gasly in 2019 would be the best way of doing it. Pierre outscored Alex Albon over the entire season, despite losing his Red Bull seat to Alex at the midway point. With VCARB taking far more parts from Red Bull next season, they're expected to have a much more competitive car. And if Yuki can get himself into a position where he's challenging Lawson in the Drivers' Championship, then he'll make it very hard for another team to not pick him up. What do you think of Red Bull saying Lawson will be better than Yuki, and that Hajar was more impressive in testing? Let me know in the comments down below, and if you want to know more about what is going to happen next season, then make sure to check out my 100% correct predictions for 2025. Until next time, drive safe and bye for now.